Please call the medic, this beat came to me on a stretcher. In the lab, I step to the mic and feel like I'm Dexter. I'm a man, dark world, but I'm still shining like treasure. Yeah, I got joy like ha ha ha. Wait, and I can't wear smiles, that's fake. Then I'm between love and strong. Hey, clock says no time for mistakes. Ring the alarm, sirens go off, but I'm calm. My life resides in his palm. Submit to my pops, respect for my mom. Honoring both, so my life will be long. Third time is the charm of the third strike. Had to.
What's going on out there, American truckers? Welcome to Trucking with Old Snapper, and I am your host. I'm Old Snapper. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Drop a comment down below. I'm gonna do something a little different in this video. You know, training has kind of been the topic of the last couple of weeks, so we're gonna continue it on with this video here. I didn't quite know how I was gonna set this video up. Like, are you smarter than a 5th grader? You know, like, so are you smarter than your trainer? Or, you know, how I was gonna design this or set it up. But I figured I'd do it like this. You know, these are basic things that your trainer should know. You as a trainee could use this video, 1, to learn for yourself, 2, to kind of test your trainer and see if your trainer knows the basics. You know, and I got to be honest with you, if they don't know the basics, I would call the company and ask for a different trainer, because these are just basic things about trucking that your trainer should know, and that you should know by the time you get off your trainer's truck. Or you could just use it for your own educational purposes, or listen to it with your trainer, and you and him or you and her could, whichever, could discuss it. You know, so it could be used in several different ways. However you use it, as always, I do hope it is useful. I do hope you learn something from it. I really hope nobody uses it in such a way that they, you know, degrade or downgrade their trainer. Now, I do think you would need a better trainer if they don't know these things. You know, I would want quality training. And if you're paying the money for it, even if you're signing a contract with a company, to me, getting quality training would be very important. You know, get your money's worth. So I would want a trainer that doesn't know these things. But I wouldn't sit and argue with a trainer either. You know, you need to respect them just as they respect you, right? Well, I'm out here in Northeast Texas. I'm on a load headed out to North Carolina. Be cutting up through Arkansas, running across Tennessee on 40, right over into North Carolina. I got a load that's going up there to that northwest corner. That's what I'm doing. Right now I stopped in this Love's. I was going to get a shower, but this Love's has no showers. I don't know why they would build a truck stop with no shower facilities, but they did. They built one in Texas with a McDonald's, but no shower facilities. And if you're going to eat McDonald's, you're probably going to need a shower. Just saying, Loves, y'all can do better. Hey, let's get into this. Now I'm gonna save the very best one for last. Generally, if your trainer gets all these questions, I can almost, not 100%, but almost guarantee you they will miss the last one. And the reason I say that is, I was a trainer at US Express at one time, and I went through the training academy, or their little training school or whatever there, and the instructor would ask every class this question, and it's going to be the very last one that I get to. And he had been teaching that class, he said, for 6 months whenever I came through it. Whenever I came through it, I answered it. And he gave me a blanket, he gave me a US Express blanket, which I think I threw away, but I did have a blanket from US Express. And he gave me that blanket because he said in 6 months of him teaching that class. Now, this class was given weekly. Every single week, and there'd be 12 to 15 trainers in this class, this train the trainer class or whatever. And in 6 months of him giving that class, no one could answer this question. So the odds that your trainer won't know it are probably pretty dang good. You know, but your trainer should know it, and hopefully if they don't, y'all two can educate each other, which there's nothing wrong with that. I used to learn things from my students all the time, man. There were things that they would see sometimes a different perspective, and it made me a better driver. And I would, some things I learned, I took in, added to my training, and would take on to training other students, would add it into the deal that I taught them. So don't think just as a student you can't teach them something, but you need to be humble too, and do remember that you are in training and you don't know it all, and your trainer probably don't know it all. I don't know it all, but he should know these basic things that I'm about to go through in this video. like I said, I'm going to save the very best one for last, or what I think would be the most trickiest one for last. First thing I'm going to go over is how to slide a fifth wheel. You'd be surprised how many times I've had drivers walk up to me, and some of them have been driving a while, and they'll ask me, hey man, I'm having trouble sliding my fifth wheel, can you help me out? It's really not a big deal because it's not something you do very often. You know, I've been driving 13 years. I've probably moved my fifth wheel maybe 3 times in 13 years. It just don't happen that often. It doesn't move a lot of weight, you know, so I mean, it just doesn't affect a whole heck of a lot. And a lot of companies have fixed fifth wheels because it's just something we don't use very often. And to be honest, sometimes the mechanism that does it just breaks from not being used, and it won't work. But if you have a working fifth wheel, this is how you slide a fifth wheel. It's a 3-step process. All right, first you lower your landing gear all the way to the ground, taking the pressure off of the plate. You can slide your fifth wheel without taking the pressure off of the plate, but you're gonna have to give it some gas if you're loaded, and you're probably gonna slam into the ends, you know, the stops on both ends of your fifth wheel, and you may take a chance on damaging something. So lower your landing gear to the ground, take a little bit of pressure up off of the plate, then get in your truck, press the button releasing the fifth wheel locks. Once you do that, get out of the truck, make sure all the locks have released, get back in your truck, and then move your fifth wheel. Slide it one direction or the other. If your locks don't release, sometimes you can kind of rock the truck, and that'll help them release. Take a hammer and tap them, that can help them release. If you tap them with the hammer or rock your truck and they do not release, you need to contact the mechanic. Something's wrong, okay? And you don't want to damage something or get it to where you can't get it to lock back in, because you can't drive down the road without it locked back in. That's how to slide a fifth wheel. And you'll be surprised how many trainers won't know that or know how to do it properly. Another one, and this one is my favorite, man, is map reading. I can almost guarantee you the trainers today, especially if you got one that started training or started driving within the last 5 years, probably thinks they can read a map, but probably cannot read a map. Actually, truly read a map. All right, so let's go over it. Let's get into the basics of map reading. What's a spur? A spur is most of the time a 3-digit odd number highway. It's going to be a highway that goes from a main highway off into, usually it comes from a main highway and drops into a city street somewhere. A lot of times spurs will come from the loop. They'll come from the outside loop and they'll drop off into downtown, into city streets. That's a spur. If you're ever on a spur and you got on that spur from a highway, just hang on. Shortly you'll be on city streets, or you'll be on regular roads. Keep that in mind. And spurs, not always, but most of the time, are 3-digit numbers that are odd. Most of the time, like spur 308. Now when I say odd, it's the first number. The first number of the highway will be odd. The 308. The difference between it and a loop or a bypass. Loops and bypasses sometimes are 1 digit, sometimes they're 3 digits. All right. But the higher the digit, the further out from the city it is, and it will almost always be even. Take Houston, for example, 610. That's a 6, it's even, that's the inner loop. You also have the Beltway 8, which is a higher number. That's the outer loop. All right, so generally the higher the number, the farther out from the city it is if they have multiple loops. All right, now you got mile markers. Mile markers go up going north. They go up going north and up going east. They go down going west and down going south. Interstate numbers do the same thing. Your lowest number interstates running north and south are in the west. Your highest number interstates running north and south are in the east. Your lowest number interstates running east or west are in the south. Your highest number interstate running east and west is in the north. So if someone tells you, I'm on I-15 and 84. All right, Interstate I-15 and 84. Just knowing that, you know they're in the Northwest somewhere. The whole United States is a grid. You know what I'm saying? Even number interstates run east and west. Odd number interstates run north and south. All right, so you take like 4, 8, 10, 20, 40. All right, that's starting at the south and going north. Those are east-west interstates. They're even number, so they're east and west interstates. Odd number interstates run north and south. So you go the 5, the 15, the 25, 35, 75. All right, you see what I'm saying? Those are odd number interstates that run north and south. All right, let me think about mapping. Oh, let me get into something else most trainers do not know. You'll hear a lot of people tell you when they're teaching you about weights, 12, 34, 34, 80,000 on the gross. What they're saying is 12,000 pounds on the steers, 34,000 pounds on the drives, 34,000 pounds on the trailer, and they're telling you that that's the maxes. The steers are not always 12,000 pounds. Your steers sometimes can be more than that. Now your gross has to stay below 80,000 pounds unless you have permits. All right, but your steers can be they could be 15,000 pounds or 18,000 pounds. There's two key things that tell you what your steer weights can be. All right, one is the state you're in. Some states have a max and most states are a max of like up to 20,000 pounds. All right. The other thing is what your steer tires are rated for, which you can actually go out and look on the sidewall of your steer tire and see what that steer tire is rated for. So many times I've seen a driver like, man, I'm at 13,000 pounds on my steers. I can't haul this load. I've already slid my fifth wheel back. It's not a legal load. Well, what state are you in? You know, well, let's go to the map. And here's one reason you should have a map. If you open up the map to the beginning, it'll give you the weights for the steer tires in the beginning of the maps. In the beginning of the map, it's under weights. You need to go there and you need to make sure that the states you're going to be going through allow 13,000 pounds on the steers. If they do, check mark, you're good there. Now get out of your truck and look at your sidewalls on your steer tires. Are they rated for at least 13,000 pounds? If they are, then check mark there. You're good to go. You are legal as long as your gross weight is under 80,000 pounds. But that's something that a lot of trainers won't know. That's something a lot of drivers don't know. So that's a basic to driving that your trainer should know. Here's something else to get into. Something else that's kind of important. That's following distance. A lot of trainers have gone through what's called the Smith system. A lot of drivers have gone through what's called the Smith system. Smith system teaches 4 seconds of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I don't care who argues with me, if you got 4 seconds of space between you and the vehicle in front of you, you're probably gonna hit them. I'm just gonna tell you that right off the rip. You're probably gonna hit them. 6 seconds at a minimum, 8 seconds at the most. And I'm gonna get into why. At 65 miles an hour, you're moving about what, 95 feet per second? I think it's 95.333, but I think 95 feet per second, let's say. All right. The reaction time for someone to even begin to put their foot on the brakes is normally 3/4 of a second. So let's just, for making it easy, round it up to 1 second. That's 95 feet. All right. Then you have what's called brake lag, and that's the time between you put your foot on the brake and the time the brakes engage and actually begin making contact with the drums. That's another 1.5 seconds, generally speaking. It can be a little bit less and a little bit more. All right, so in ideal conditions, dry ground, clear skies, perfect day, just like today, you will, before you even begin to start, you're 2.5 seconds into that, right? That means at 95 feet per second, you've already moved 216 feet before you even started stopping. You follow me here? Are you telling me you're gonna stop in the other 2 seconds? Or you're not gonna stop in 4 seconds distance. Why trucking companies are using this Smith system is just beyond me. I'm surprised they haven't been sued for it yet. It does not work. It's good in a car. Cars have different types of brakes. They're lighter, and their reaction, or the brake reaction time's a lot lower. So yes, the Smith system does work in cars, and it makes sense because that's what the system was designed for. When he designed that system, was in cars, when thinking about trucks that are 72 feet from front to back, weighing 80,000 pounds. I know Creek Carriers uses the Smith system. That's something that they teach in their classes. There's a few others as well. But I'm just telling you right now, man, that in my opinion, 4 seconds is not enough. I understand that you can't keep 6 to 8 seconds all the time, but here's the trick. As long as they're moving away from you, you're good. Just keep it going that way. You know what I'm saying? Now here's what your trainer may not know about this. How many feet per second is 65 miles an hour? He should know that, because that's something he should be teaching you when he teaches you about following distance. If you're running slower, if you're in a slower truck, 60 miles an hour is 88 feet per second. Those are things, those are numbers he should have ingrained in him, because he should be training every student on following distance and how long it takes to stop a truck, which at 60 miles an hour, I believe it's 592 feet by the time you notice a problem to the time you get completely stopped. That's at a steady, consistent, controlled stop. All right, it's not a panic stop, but at a steady, consistent, controlled stop, 592 feet, I believe it is. But those are things your trainer should know. Now let's get into the very last question. This is the question that I tell you most trainers and most drivers in general don't know. I mean, if you're a driver and you get in an argument with another driver and you just want to feel smarter than them, you can use this. You've got probably an 80% chance that they ain't gonna know what the hell you're talking about. And that is STAA routing. Sierra Tango Alpha Alpha routing. All right. STAA routing is the Surface Transportation Association Act of 1982. Truckers follow STAA routing all the time. And that's what's crazy. There's actually black and white signs that tell you STAA route. And drivers still cannot tell you what a STAA route is. There's one right there in Kentucky, right near Lexington, Kentucky. Another one that's pretty famous that everybody should know of is the loop around Atlanta. Before you get on that loop, it tells you STAA routing. You're required to take that loop. All right. You can't be inside the loop in Atlanta unless you are delivering in Atlanta. You can't run it straight through. You're not supposed to. It's a pretty big fine. But write that down, because you'll be surprised how many drivers out here have no clue what STAA routing is. Now, I'm sure there's some experienced drivers out there that watch my channel that'll probably want to leave a comment. If there's something you feel like a trainer should know, drop it down in the comments below. That way, these new guys that are coming in can kind of refer to that and help them out. You know, maybe this video can help the industry a little bit if it gets out there enough. You know, help people to be better drivers. But anyway, let's be kind to each other. Let's remember we are all family out here, even if we are a little bit dysfunctional. Let's help this new generation of drivers coming out. Instead of putting them down, instead of calling them steering wheel holders, instead of calling them stupid, why don't we help each other? Why don't we help them to be better, and they can help us to be better? It goes both ways. Y'all keep jerking.
That's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I came to play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me. Then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted. So I'm 10-1 if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close. I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke. I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious.